All right. Hi, everyone. We're sorry for this brief intermission and technical difficulties, but we are coming back on. And so in just a moment, we should have Dr. Bermudez back with us, and we're going to get straight to asking him the vaccination questions that you all have. Hi, Dr. Bermudez.
Hi, Cathy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So hopefully you took a little stretch break during that time. We had a little,
I drank some water. I'm good.
Okay, great. Some water. This is why, people have a whole studio team. So, at our next board meetings as a board of director, when I have in the budget that I need a whole TV studio, now you'll know why.
All right.
So, so before this, and we'll have a two-parter. So, we talked a little bit, about, Kaiser and the importance of the Latino community and what was being done. And that's,
right.
Why there was this initiative, to put a salute for there and do all of
right.
that. And so what I wanted to get to from, this percentage that we're sharing is that these vaccinations, right? So now we're coming to this piece. We know the percentages that you have of patients. We know the percentage of this COVID-19 has drastically hit our community in ways that I don't think most people fully realize. When you think of these numbers, they're big. But, when you put them to percentages, we've been overwhelmingly hit by it. And so when we talk about that and then go into the vaccinations of why, this is something that can be helpful. Yeah. Can you just share from your perspective, like what were those, big hits that happened in the Latino community because of COVID-19?
Yeah, so Cathy, we know that the Latino community got hit the hardest because remember, 40% of this, almost 40% of the state are Latinos. But the people that are getting the sickest, the whole total number percentage is about 60% of Latinos are getting the sickest. And when you look at the vaccinations rates that we have, only about almost close to about 20% that we've been vaccinated. So we're really lagging behind other races, especially our Caucasian race, who is basically almost 32% being vaccinated. So the word needs to get out there to the community. But this really, in reality, the vaccines are effective. Obviously, especially the messenger RNA vaccines like the Pfizer vaccine, which I got, the Moderna vaccines, which people were worried that they were done very fast. But in reality, Cathy, if you look at what happened is that this vaccine's technology has been around over a couple of decades. It's not new. The only thing that was nice is that I got to get this to Trump. He took away all the red tape and then make these vaccines really fast and speedy to get all the red tape out of there. There were over 50,000 people that participated and they were looking at the side effects of the vaccine, and it's very efficacious. So I think the key is that we need to get this into the community. They're safe. There's no reason for us to wait. The longer we wait, the longer it's going to take us to get into the things that we want to do. I want to get back to go to nice restaurants, go to I'm a huge Kings fan. I want to go to the Kings games. I want to do things that are important. I want to meet with you guys again in the board with the special, I miss the social aspects of it. So I think that our community needs to understand these vaccines are safe. Of course, we just heard about Johnson & Johnson recently too, right? And,
yes.
and that was something that, again, we, as you guys heard, is 6 out of almost 7 million people had this unusual blood clots. Now, we do not really know if really the vaccine is causing those clots or not, but it's mostly on women between the ages of 18 to 48. So the CDC decided to pause it for a couple of weeks to see if there's really a connection or not, because we haven't really seen that for us to really say this is really causing the clots. So I think that's a smart thing to do. In the next couple of weeks, we'll get more information from the CDC in order to continue rolling these vaccines. But our community needs to understand, if you get COVID, think about the issues of death. That's the key. And, we are multi-generational in the house. There's your grandkids, there's your mom, there's your papa and grandfather, and then they get a vaccine there. The whole family is sick. The next thing you know, the abuelita is gone. So I think we need to be able to sacrifice ourselves, learn more, and be able to get the vaccines.
So Dr. Bermudez, all important information. Right. I'm going to go back just one, because I think this is a part that, not everyone, believe it or not, still believes, right?
Mhm.
And that is that COVID-19, people did die from it.
Yeah.
This is a very real,
Yes.
there's no conspiracy. There was
No.
nothing without,
No.
this was something that hit, and in particular hit our community.
Yes.
The percentages of people that didn't make it through this
Right.
illness
Right.
was higher than
Yes.
most of all the other ones. Is that
Kathy,
correct?
the numbers are staggering. You know, again, like I said, 60% of all the cases were Latinos. You know, and what happened is 46% out of those Latinos died. You know, think about it. You know, if you look at the numbers, we just passed 60,000 COVID deaths this past Saturday. Multiply that by 0.4. That's about what, 30,000 more of the Latinos have been died already. Think about that. That's crazy. You know, we lost a lot of generational Latinos there. And guess what? We're still losing patients. People don't want to talk about this, you know, but the numbers are about 110 people are still dying daily in California. They don't talk about those numbers because the numbers were up 500, 600 when it's very high, but we're still losing people here. Look at Sacramento. We're still in the red tier, right? And the reason we're in the red tier is because we're still having 8% of prevalence in the Sacramento area. Now, why is that? Why we have so many people don't want to get the vaccines, right? Compared to Los Angeles, they're now less than 2. That's why they're going to orange tier. So for us to get into the best scenarios, get back to the reality, into normality, we need to take the vaccine. Super important. Because there's no cure. To be honest, end up in the hospital, but there's no cure. I can give you some numbers. You know, out of the 30, out of 100 people that get COVID, 30% going to get very sick. Out of those 30% going to get very sick, 12% ended up in the hospital. Out of those 12% ended up in the hospital, 1% dies. So we have a death rate of 1.6 percent. The people die in the hospital, they're in the hospital, and it's a horrible death. You know, you're alone. Nobody wants to talk to you because you got COVID. It's a lonely way to go. So I think people are sometimes they don't understand the implications of that, what causes this death, and there is no cure. There is no cure. So that's why the vaccine is the only way to prevent us to get into to that level.
And then something I heard you say over this weekend at a presentation you gave that I thought was equally important. And so this vaccine, so there's no cure. This is not going to cure us from having it. But what this is going to do is help prevent hospitalization and death.
That is correct.
And so those are the two big things that we really don't want to happen.
Correct.
So
that is correct. So, you know, the vaccines are made to prevent from getting the disease. Number one, right? That's 3 things, right? Preventing the disease. Number 2, getting hospitalized, and the 3rd is death. And the 3 vaccines, including the Johnson & Johnson, it prevents you from dying and being in the hospital, right? But because they're not 100% effective, they're 95% effective, the Johnson, the Moderna, compared to the, Moderna and Pfizer are 95% effective. Johnson is about 80% effective. So you can still get COVID, right? That's why we ask you to wear the mask and social isolate. And now with all these variants, I tell you what is happening right now. We have this variant in the States. It's called the B.1.1.7. That's the British one, if you will. That's 30% of the people that are getting now that is coming. And we're not testing it here in California as much, you know, and now you have the South African and also the Brazilian. So the longer we have the virus in our cells, the virus is going to mutate. The more mutation it has, the what we call the infectivity is going to happen, and the longer we're going to get back to normality. So I know it sounds strange or weird, but as a physician, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of what? Curación. Curación, una libra de curación, right? So I think that's what we need to do is we need to actually, just listen to the science.
And then what happens? So now I personally, I've had my first dose of Moderna.
Oh, right.
And yes. And you said you have the Pfizer. Some people have had the Johnson & Johnson.
Right.
So there is a pause right now on Johnson.
Correct.
And I've heard for the transparency to make sure that there isn't that linkage. But other than that, was there any reason like I should be concerned that I got Moderna and you got Pfizer?
In reality, no, because they're 2 different vaccines, right? One went with a messenger RNA, and the Johnson & Johnson is, to be honest, similar to the flu shot. It's a vector, kind of viral vector that injects you. So it's similar to the flu vaccine. So they're really 2 different types of vaccines, if you will. that you receive. And again, the Johnson and Johnson right now is really effective too. It's just that in order for us to be safe and patient, we need to see and look at those cases that they had, those 6 cases, right? So now think about it. Our current woman between the ages of 18 to 48, and so we need to figure out what do they have in common? Are they on birth control pills? Were they smokers? Were they overweight? Were they immobilized? Were they having some other issues that we don't know? Whether or not that's the reality that caused the clots, and not necessarily the vaccine itself. Because just think about it: 7 million people got the shot, and only 6 people have this issue. That's kind of unusual. And it's only in the United States. Remember that we're talking about the world. There's other things that happen around the world because they're getting Moderna, the Johnson & Johnson around the world. So I think it's a smart thing to do, and we're gonna get some more information coming up. So don't be afraid. But the only thing I'll tell you this: if you got the shot within the last 2 weeks, if for any reason you have any severe headaches or swelling legs, please talk to your doctor. We at Kaiser, what we did is we reached out to our members that got the shots from Johnson & Johnson and sent an email telling exactly what the things to look for and to let us know right away.
Right. So from what I heard you say, and I just want to make sure everyone hears this, that whichever version of the vaccine I got, it's still effective.
Correct.
And, I don't need to worry that yours is better than mine or anything like that. We're good.
No, exactly.
And so now for those that, let's be honest, you said the percentage, and I know you've had it, I'm halfway there. Most of my family, I know I share everything, my parents are done, but there's still a percentage that, is concerned about getting this and has it. So can we just talk a little bit about what really could be side effects? So we had the shot. Yes. I myself had a little bit of a sore arm, but really for our community that's out there, that's like, I'm very concerned. Yeah. I've heard things that there's going to be a chip in me, someone's going to follow me, all these things. But the reality is what's going to happen? I'm going to get the shot. And what's the worst that might feel?
Yeah, thank you, Cathy. I got the shot too. It was at 8:30 in the morning, and I actually had a bunch of patients scheduled, so I got a little soreness personally, right? And then the next day it was a little more sore, and then and 3 days later it was completely gone. And then that's when I got the second shot of Pfizer. To be honest, I didn't feel anything. I was very, very lucky there. But there are some people. Remember, they're injecting you a couple of things there. The sugar molecules, there's water. The Pfizer has something called ethanol glycol, which is basically antifreeze. That's why they have to be put under very cold conditions, right? And some people react mostly to that than to the actual vaccine protein itself. So there are some people that might get some redness, maybe some fever, headaches, body aches, chills, and fatigue, which is not an uncommon. It's almost like getting a reaction to your immune system to a virus. And that's exactly what we want. That's something that is normal, is your natural immunity against something that you have. And usually it takes about 2 days or 3 days to fade out. Now, there are some people, for whatever reason, very rare, that can get a more severe reaction where you can actually have significant swelling or you can develop a rash. That's why we keep you and wait for about 15 minutes to see if you have that kind of anaphylaxis. But to be honest, we haven't had anyone that has died from those vaccines. So think about it, millions and millions of people in California has gotten the shots. And nobody's talking about somebody got a shot and died from the vaccine the same day, right? Nobody talks about that.
No one has had that.
And we're talking millions and millions of people. In California, I think we vaccinated close to 11 million people already. So still we have about another 30 million to go.
I bet. And so the last, question on the vaccine is what happens, or is it possible for someone, I got Moderna, if my second one was a Pfizer shot, is that an issue, or do I need to make sure that I have Moderna, so I need to make sure?
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a great question. And that's something that we're still learning as we go, Cathy, because I think what will happen is down the road is that we're asking you, if you get Moderna, make sure you take the Moderna. Mm-hmm. We need to keep them the same categories, if you will. Pfizer, get Pfizer. Now, the question will be down the road, is it okay if I had Pfizer, but now Moderna comes out with a vaccine as a booster that will have the UK, the South African, and the Brazilian antigens, whether or not it's okay for us to take that. That's something that we need to learn going forward. But the way where things are going, Cathy, it's very possible that eventually we might have to take a booster, because the longer we wait, the more this virus will mutate. And guess what? Now we're going to be stuck taking vaccines like the flu. Now, keep in mind, we're taking California only, right? How about the United States? How about the world? If people, they're not getting things around the world, like, places like Africa or the Philippines, the brothers over there in the Philippines, they're basically incubators to develop different strains. So we need to get not only vaccinated in the United States, but also vaccinated the world.
Wow, that's a lot. What happens? So herd immunity, what exactly does that mean? When we say, like, we want to get to herd immunity and then we'll feel like, oh, we're in better shape. But what does that mean exactly?
It's funny when people call it herd immunity, right? We can get herd immunity by getting the virus, right? Or getting vaccinated, right? So they're putting some numbers. Herd immunity means that the virus has less chance of infecting someone that already had immunity. And they're looking at numbers like 80%, 75 to 80%. So that's why if you look at Newsom, he's looking at the vaccinating at least 3/4 of the state, at least another 20 more million. So because now we have about 75% people vaccinated, meaning that if the virus goes from me to you, you're not going to catch it because you got the immunity. That's what herd immunity means. It's just basically a population percentage is vaccinated. Not only that, but also you can count the people that have the virus as well. But this is the point. If you have the virus, get vaccinated too, because it doesn't last very long in your body. The immunity for the virus it will wane. It also depending on your own immunity. So we still recommend for you to take the vaccine. Super important.
That's good to know. Okay. So anything else that you've heard that you just want to dispel the myth right now, especially for Latino community? I
think there's a lot of myths, Cathy, and one of them is like they're putting things like chips in your shoulder. They're going to raise you. What? Hey, I didn't know that. That must be a really nano chip, Right,
that's what I thought from this needle myself. I'm like, I don't know if there's a chip big enough.
Okay, so we weird things like that, but in reality, we're not using the virus. The COVID vaccine does not have the COVID virus, so you're not going to get COVID from the vaccine. That's definitely a myth. The other one is that the messenger RNA vaccine doesn't really cross into the DNA where the DNA is, so that doesn't have anything to do with your genes or your genetic makeup going forward. Those are a bunch of myths that are going around with that as well. And then, to be honest, there's no way that we want to vaccinate you, make you sick, so we can trace you. We don't want to do that. We really, in reality, those are a bunch of myths. The biggest myth that I have is, to be honest, is people that I want to wait and see.
Yeah,
that's the biggest myth. Ay, no me la quiero poner porque quiero esperar a ver qué pasa. Bueno, te va a dar COVID. That's going to happen, right? Have you heard that before?
I have actually heard that. I have some family members, and actually I was on a meeting yesterday with someone too, an older gentleman said, I just want to wait and see. I had, my tia too, quiero, eso digo, quiero, voy a ver qué pasa. And I was like, my mom already had it, and she's traveling. So that's what did it with the family members. It was other family members.
They're going to get COVID, right? That's what's going to happen. And they're going to get COVID. And again, to us, it's important to teach what reality is all about. If we're basically leaders, we need to give teaching of what people are afraid of. So it's good to listen to people to figure out what they want. Because there's some people for religious reasons they don't want to take it, right? Or there's some people that reality, they have some allergic reactions that we don't want to also give it to them, or they're going through chemotherapies, or there's some subgroup of those people, right? But that's why the herd immunity that we're looking at is not 100%. We're looking at 75 to 80% immunity because the virus will have less opportunity to go from person to person. But while you're waiting to see a ver qué pasa, I hope it doesn't get the que pasa virus for you.
Yeah, no, we definitely not. So, Dr. Martinez, you've given us so much information, and we didn't even touch half of the other things I want to talk about. So first of all, I definitely want to have you back so we can talk a little bit more about some of the other subjects that Kaiser is doing, especially with the medical school that they're opening up in Pasadena.
Sure.
That's a teaser for everyone because we're going to bring Dr. Martinez back to talk about that.
Gracias.
One of the other issues in the Latino community is we don't have enough diverse physicians, and Kaiser is at the forefront coming up with a solution. So we're going to bring him back to talk about that.
Okay.
But Dr. Bermudez, thank you so much for joining us today and really spelling out what the facts are. Because really the facts are, get the vaccination. It's safe. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It's going to do something that's going to keep you from being hospitalized and preventing, death. And that's, we all want to be able to celebrate. I would love to celebrate Christmas all together next year and not be in our own little pod. So I'm thinking that that's probably something we all want. Is that Sound about right?
That's you, Kathy. You're so smart. You know, I want to let you know that your name, Cathy, means pure in Greek. So I was trying to figure out why is Kathy doing these things. You're a pure sunshine. I really appreciate your work, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bermudez. Well, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros y diciendo toda esa información. For anyone else, just know that, you know, we are here on Thursdays. Dr. Bermudez is on our board. If you have any questions that you thought of afterwards, please feel free to email us or send it to us. We'll make sure it gets to them, and we'll make sure we get those questions answered for you.
Yeah, so, come and visit. Come and visit.
And then come down to downtown Kaiser. You can see the salute floor. You'll see Dr. Bermudez there and his team doing all the good work that we expect of Kaiser. So thank you again for joining us.
Gracias,
thank
Kathy.
you for understanding about our short, brief intermission, but we appreciate you today. So thank you.
Thank you.